Then all of a sudden, IMU takes over Gunko's body. Holy crap. Brook's a holy knight. Him and Gunko are father and daughter. IMU pulled up to Elbaph. Like, what the heck was this chapter? Oda, I don't know what he did during his break, but he came back and started cooking. This is One Piece chapter 1149. Honestly, back maybe since they had those 4 great chapters with the Harley, Shamrock, introducing Nika, Gaban's pull-up, this is probably the best chapter of Elbaph. When we last left off, we saw that Gaban pulled up. He ended up cutting off Sommers' arm, and it appears that he's using Advanced Conqueror. So all the Sanji haters that said he's not gonna get it, including myself, right? It looks like Sanji's gonna have Advanced Conquerors, and Gaban, he went crazy. I love it whenever the old guys in the series, so whether it's Whitebeard, Garp, or Rayleigh, they talk about how rusty they are, because yes, they are rusty. They're nowhere near what they were in their primes, but looking at it, shoot, it's like LeBron on the Lakers. He still may not necessarily be 2012 LeBron, he may not be 2018 LeBron, but he's still a top 10 player in the league. Shout out Sommers, because even though Gaban clearly has the upper hand against him, he's still holding his own, uses a Briar Barrier and coats it in hockey so that it can withstand Gaban's attack, which if it is using Advanced Conquerors, you gotta admit that Sommers using base level armor in hockey, oh, his hockey's pretty good to be able to block an attack from Scopper Gaban. As they're fighting, there's a couple statements that I want to clear up. Now, you're going to have to wait whenever it officially is translated, because we know that the scans, sometimes they can be a little bit more realistic, and at the same time, well, they can also be a little bit misleading. But as they're noticing the fight that's going on, Nami said that Luffy and Zoro were totally overwhelmed by him. That is not the case. Yes, we know that Zoro, once Gaban did a name attack, Zoro was like, hey, Luffy, you have to dodge this. But whenever that attack landed, because Luffy and Zoro, they weren't going all out. Once that attack happened, that's when they sat up in their chair. Luffy turned gear for Zoro. It looked like he was using King of Hell. So I don't like that Nami said that they were overwhelmed, because they weren't. Like, that's just nowhere near what happened. And then there's also the statement by Jinbei saying that he is equal to Rayleigh, being the left hand of the Pirate King. And I don't want to do Gaban dirty, because you look on Twitter, people have been ripping him a new one, especially what happens later in the chapter. But I believe once it was first introduced, I think that's chapter 1139 or 1138, one of the two, the official translation kind of changes what was said about him and Rayleigh. And it's just, I don't know if what Jinbei said, I don't think they're equals, but I really do think that they're dang close, similar to Zoro and Sanji. Gaban and Sommers, they continue to have their little skirmish, and then Gaban ends up having the upper hand, where he ends up cutting Sommers' briars, cutting his sword or briar whip sword thing. Actually, I don't know entirely what it is, but nevertheless, he uses a named attack called Futenraku. Like I said, you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt, because, well, when the scans, you know, they're different from the translation, but nevertheless, he ends up cutting Sommers in half. Sommers isn't dead or anything, because you see him say ouch later in the chapter, but Gaban, using what we believe to be Advanced Conqueror, was able to disable his regenerative ability and was able to slow him down enough for him to continue to head to the kids and head towards Gunko. And that's why he didn't end up finishing Sommers off here, because he doesn't have time. He has to go save those kids. And Chopper, he goes after him as well. I'm not gonna hold you. If I'm the Straw Hats, I'm like, Chopper, what the fluff are you doing? You see us over here, we're kidnapped, we need to be set free, let us go. But instead, Chopper chases after Gaban, which makes sense in Chopper's mind, because he's like, hey, they were struggling going against the Holy Knights, they're immortal, so how was he able to bypass their immortality? So obviously Chopper, he's going to go and see how Gaban did it, trying to observe him so he can potentially use that in his attacks, which makes me question how Gaban was able to do it, because personally, I already made a video about it. I'll leave it in the description below. I think it has something to do with Conqueror's Haki, because of how Kaido talked about Haki reigns supreme, it rules all, how Luffy had to learn Advanced Conquerors, how Zoro was struggling with King the entire time until he unlocked Advanced Conquerors. But then at the same time, we know Chopper, he's not going to be a Conqueror. You can confirm Sanji, that is what it is, that has some actual stuff behind it, but Chopper being a Conqueror's user, that just doesn't make any sense. sense. So in Chopper saying this makes me wonder if Gaban is using something that maybe all the Straw Hats can use, and it's not something hockey related. But if you guys have made it this far into the video and you're enjoying the content, let me know by leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell so you guys never saw a new video. I put about different One Piece content almost each and every day. It is very unfortunate because we know that Drogi ended up giving the order to go ahead and burn the library, burn the school, and so Angie, she has set the stuff on fire. Very, very unfortunate. Reminds me so much of O'Hara, and you can see Robin, she's getting different flashbacks or PTSD of like, hey, I experienced this before. So just seeing it, it's like I said, not a good thing, but it, in terms of like writing, it's a good touch seeing Robin react this way, as well as Ronja. I hope that Robin has an interaction with her, because Ronja in the last chapter was trying to be brave, trying to say, hey, I love the school, it shouldn't have to burn in order for me to be alive. And so here she's kind of doubling down on it. She's sad because she's like, oh, because I'm alive, all this misfortune is happening. If I wasn't alive, then the fire wouldn't have spread, the school wouldn't have been burned, and all this suffering wouldn't have happened, which kind of mirrors Nico Robin talk about how she wants to die, how she believes that she needs to die in order to save the Straw Hats. And so I hope that they're able to connect to Robin, because we know when she relied on the Straw Hats during NS Lobby, now she's finally free, and now she's able to have friends that rely on her. So I hope that Robin can connect with Ronja and kind of talk about maybe her experiences and reassure her that nah, it's okay for you to be alive. I talked about this, I don't remember if it was my last review, but within the couple of them, I was like, okay, Stopper Gaban needs to lose. Not because I hate him or anything, I actually do like him, and I've actually said he might be stronger than current Rayleigh, right? I gas him up. But if you look at it for what the Straw Hats are going to do, specifically the Monster Trio, well, they ain't been doing nothing, they've been chilling with Loki. So we needed a way for them to get back into the story, and someone of Stopper Gaban's level needed to be defeated, and he wasn't going to be defeated in a conventional way, in a 1v1 straight up, because nobody here, the only person I would be willing to entertain it is IMU, which, well, I'll talk about a little bit later, or Shamrock, but we know Shamrock returned to the Holy Land. So something had to happen, and a circumstance that was kind of outside of his control, making him drop his guard, needed to happen, and lo and behold, well, it dealt with Collun. Because as Gaban was headed towards Gunko and was going to try and free the kids, he's like, hey, Collun, don't give away that I'm on the way here, please don't, because, well, if you do, then Gunko is definitely going to use that to her advantage. And lo and behold, and it makes sense, he's a kid, right? Seeing his dad pull up is going to save him, he's obviously going to be happy, and he shouts out, hey, that's my dad, he's going to save us all. And lo and behold, Gunko, she does not hesitate, and she used that at her advantage, and she makes Collun her hostage. It is kind of crazy the way that she was able to dodge Gaban's initial attack, and so she now has a weapon at Collun's throat, where Gaban's like, hey, Collun, you're strong, you're my son, it's okay, I'll save you in a second. And shout out Collun, he's like, hey, even though it hurts, he's like, yeah, I believe in you, Gaban, dad, you're going to save me. But we know what Oda has done, honestly, throughout the entire series, how important parents are for their kids, and specifically in the last arc, talking about Kuma and Dragon, they had an interaction in the flashback when Kuma brought up something about Luffy. Dragon said something along the lines of, that's a parent's weakness, and we saw what Kuma did in order to save Bonnie, and when he ended up returning to Egghead, why he ended up trying to be there so he could save her. And so using his future sight, Gaban saw a future where Collun, he ended up dying because he wasn't going to be fast enough to save him, which obviously makes him freeze, which obviously as a parent, he's going to drop his guard so that his son can live. And lo and behold, Gunko skewers him. I'm not worried about his health or anything like that. Obviously, he's going to not necessarily be out of commission, but he's definitely not going to be here because he's fallen down what appears to be the Underworld. Also looks like Chopper's going down there as well, so maybe he's going to use his guard point in order to stop him from falling. And because of where he is headed, that is going to be the segue. Seeing someone as strong as him be defeated like this, that's going to allow the Monster Trio and Loki probably to spring into action. I don't think it's going to happen next chapter. I think whenever Oda ends up having his break, it'll probably be like the cliffhanger for that, so I am really looking forward to it. You would have thought that that would have been enough to end the chapter. Nah, Oda, he gave us another level, because in hearing Collun scream out for his father, Gunko, she starts reacting a little bit. We get a flashback of seeing we think it's her screaming out to her father, crying, and then all of a sudden it's someone that has Brook's laugh. It looks like a musician because there's music notes, a silhouette, a tall individual, and he has a kid by his hands. And so he says, it's my dream to be a pirate. So a lot of us speculate that, hey, this is the relationship between Gunko and Brook, because a couple chapters ago Brook started talking about who this girl could potentially be, and then that ended up getting shut up. And also this could be how Brook, maybe he was potentially a holy knight, but at the same time, well, Loki was offered the position of holy knight, so maybe Brook isn't actually a celestial dragon. I don't know. Also, we know how Oda, he loves to have parents involved a lot in the series, and a lot of the time it's not your conventional blood related parents. There's Zeph and Sanji, there's Barrymore and Nami, you got Kuma and Bonnie, I could keep going, Shanks and Uta, you guys get what I mean. So a lot of people are going to instantly jump, oh, that's Brook's biological daughter. It may not actually be, it maybe just was a father figure for her. And then all of a sudden, because of this and because of what's happened at Mary Joa, there's flames that are covering the Holy Lands. Yeah, this stuff that's happening at Elbaph, it has to stop. And all of a sudden, IMU takes over Gunko's body. You will show the dominion of God. You see the conquerors exuding from Gunko, and next chapter is going to be lit. I will say, I wonder who's the individual that is attacking the Holy Land. You would assume it's the revolutionaries, and you see flames, maybe Sabo, because Dragon talked about when the Holy Knights mobilized, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like that's too easy. Maybe it's the Blackbeard pirates. We know that one, they have the ability to transform to Saturn with Katarina Devon, and two, I believe it was when they were talking about Garp or the aftermath of that whole situation at Hachinosu, Lafayette, he was at the Holy Land just explain to Blackbeard the situation, and the Blackbeard pirates are pretty sneaky, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was them as well. What a chapter, what a chapter. Let me know how you guys feel about it in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. From my Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok is on the screen and in the description below. And don't forget to unleash your potential.